and today we're going to talk about the CELPIP. So this is the agenda for today. First, we'll go through some basic information about what the CELPIP is, why you should choose CELPIP. We'll give you all the details about the format and scoring of the tests, give you some information about scoring and rating, so how the marks are calculated, and then some information about our test study materials, and then we'll have a section where we're practicing some of the tests that you would see in the CELPIP. If you have any questions at any point, just feel free to raise your hand, let me know, and we can go from there. Is that okay? Can you guys hear me okay? Okay. Let me know if I'm speaking too fast or if you have any questions too. Okay. So, the CELPIP is a 4-scale computer-delivered test. It was originally developed out of the University of British Columbia, and now my company, Paragon Testing, is the company that administers the test. Now the test is designated by IRCC, or Immigration Canada, the federal government, for citizenship and immigration purposes. Now, do you know what the CELPIP stands for? What's C? Canadian. E? AC? L?
Language.
Good. What about P? This is a bit more tricky. Very good. And I? This is hard, right? Index program. So the CELPIP, Canadian English Language Proficiency Index Program. So it's a test for everyday English. Now there are 2 versions to this test, the CELPIP General and the CELPIP General LS. Now what is the difference? The CELPIP General, the red one, is for immigration, and the CELPIP General LS, the green one, is for citizenship. If you are already a permanent resident, you only need to do the CELPIP General LS, the green one, because it's only listening and speaking. It's a lot cheaper. It's $185 plus tax. It's also a lot shorter. It's only 1 hour and 10 minutes. You don't have to do a 4-skill test. Now, if you want to do the IELTS, you have to do the 4-skill test. So this is actually a great alternative for people applying for Canadian citizenship. We are a Canadian company, and we use Canadian accents, Canadian vocabulary, Canadian situations. So it will be very easy for you to understand. Now, we have test centers across Canada, because you guys are probably from Calgary. If you want to do the test, you can go to Bow Valley College or Precise Solutions. Bow Valley College also has a preparation program, so if you want to prepare for the CELPIP test, that's a great place to go. If you want more information, I can give you a little bit more information after the seminar. Now, the test is computer delivered, and this is an example of how a test center may look like. So in a test center, you will have a computer, monitor, keyboard, headset for the listening and speaking components, and usually there will be either a privacy shield or a shield that separates each test taker so that it's not so noisy, and also you get some privacy, and it's also to prevent cheating. So this is what the test center looks like at the Paragon office. Now, many people come and ask us, why should we do the CELPIP test? How is it different from the IELTS? Well, the CELPIP is one sitting. You don't have to come back for the speaking component. You can control the volume of your listening, and you can also see the reading and the questions on the same screen. I will show you an example later. Now, for the writing component, there is spell check. So that's really, really good, because you don't have to worry about spelling, and there is also word count. So you don't have to count how many words you have written for the writing tasks. It's all automatic for you on the computer. Now for speaking, you speak into the microphone. So I will explain how that works a little bit later on. And there are also timers to help you to see how much time you have left. Also, we're we're a Canadian company, so we use Canadian English, and you have lots of different times to choose from. Some test days are Thursday, some are Friday, some are Saturday, some are Sunday. So depending on your schedule, it is very convenient. You can also see your scores online. So the day it is ready, you just log on and you can see your scores immediately. Any questions so far? Would you like to join us and have a seat? Just anywhere. Make yourself comfortable. Okay, so very quickly about the format. How many of you here are permanent residents already? You're permanent residents, okay? How many of you are thinking of applying, so you want to be an immigrant? Apply for a permanent residence, okay. So if you're applying for permanent residence, then the one in red, that's the test for you. It's about 3 hours total, 4 skills, and if you already are a permanent resident, you only do the 2 skill. The listening and speaking, they're the same format. And it's only 1 hour, about 1 hour and 10 minutes. So now I'm gonna go through the format of the test with you, and then we'll do some practice as well. So for the listening test, there are 6 parts, okay? And the different parts test everything about daily Canadian life. Before you start the listening test, there is a practice test, so you can get comfortable with the listening headset, make sure you can hear before you start the test. Part 1 is called listening to problem solving. So this is an example of what you will see in the test. You will see the instructions. For example, you will hear a conversation between a man and a woman. The man is a bus driver and the woman is a passenger trying to get somewhere. So this is a typical situation in Canada. You need some information, you have a conversation. So the test is not difficult. It's about everyday Canadian life. So then you listen to the conversation, talking, and then you answer some questions about the conversation. How do you answer the question? By clicking on the options. With a mouse. Okay. So this is part 2. Part 3, listening for information. Here again, listen to the conversation, and then after that you answer some questions. Now, part 4, listening to a news item, you see that the format is a little bit different because here it is a drop-down menu. What that means is you will click on the little arrow and you will see the options. So here you see 5 questions all at the same time. Previously, you see 1 question and then next, another question. So this is very important. Look at this next button. When you finish and you've answered the question, you can choose to click next to go faster, but you don't have to. You can take your time. When the time is up, you will see. When the time is up, 0 seconds, it will go to next. So you can choose. If your English, you're very comfortable with the questions are very easy for you, you can go faster, but you don't have to. You can take all the time you need. So you know exactly how much time you have for each section or each question. Okay, so far?
So if you finish before the time, you can be credited to you in the next.
No, you cannot credit the time. So that, yes, that's a very good question. So for example, if this question is very easy, you have 30 seconds, you finish in 10 seconds, you don't get 20 seconds for the next section. No. But you can finish early and you can leave if you want. But you don't have to. We don't encourage you to do that. Take your time, look at the questions carefully, and answer the questions carefully. Okay? So we're done. This is part 2. Part 3, listen, answer the questions. When you finish, you go to next. Part 4, you see 5 questions at the same time, and then the drop down, you pick by clicking on the option, and you complete the sentence. So this is about a news item. So similar to like watching TV, like, you know, CBC or Global News, that sort of stuff. Part 5 is listening to a discussion. So here you will see a video. There are some people talking, and they're talking about, they don't agree on something. So they have different opinions. After you watch the video, listen to their conversation, you answer some questions about what they were talking about. So they have different opinions. One person says, no, I think it should be A. Another person, no, I think it should be B, and so on. The questions are about what they're talking about. Yes, oh, yes, there is only one answer. Yeah, no, it's not an opinion. So the question is specific to their conversation. Yes. So same thing, you see this drop-down menu. So same thing, you use a mouse, you click, and then you choose your option. When you finish, you go to next. So here there are 6 questions. So this is part 6. Now this is an example of the scoring system. So altogether in the listening test, there are 38 questions. Depending on your score, you get a level. The level we call the CELPIP level is similar to the Canadian Language Benchmark level, so CLB. If you guys know the LINC program and that sort of stuff, similar benchmarks. Okay, so we have highlighted level 4 and level 7 because typically the Canadian government, Immigration Canada, requires a level 7 for express entry immigration and level 4 for citizenship. But you have to check the Immigration Canada website because sometimes they change the rules. But so far it looks like it's level 4 for citizenship and level 7 for immigration. Any questions so far? Now let's move on to the reading test. The reading test, there are only 4 parts. It's about an hour. Each part is a different type of reading. So part 1, this is what it looks like. On the left side is the text. So this is where you read the text. And you can see here in part 1, it's always some kind of email message. You can see, hi Mia, da 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 da, and then at the end, love Maria, because it is an email message, or like a letter, okay? And then on the right side, you have questions. So you can see the first part here, up top. There are questions about the reading, questions about the email. So there are 6 questions, same thing, click on the drop down, you choose your options. Now the bottom part here is the response to the email. Somebody write to you, you reply to the person, that's the response. So how do you know the answer? It's from reading the email, understanding the meaning of the email, and then choosing the response from there. Okay? Now, when you're doing the test, sometimes you may have to scroll down. So look here. It means that there are more information down here. So make sure you scroll on because there are more questions down there. So this is what part 1 looks like. Reading correspondence means email between 2 people. Part 2, reading to apply a diagram. A diagram is like a picture or an infographic. So this is an example of diagrams about transportation, but it could be about something else like a driver's license or a poster about cakes. So different types of diagram. But the subject is always normal Canadian life, not about academic or business or science for this particular part. So again, on the right, you read the message, you get the answer from looking at the diagram, and you click on the drop down to choose the options to answer the questions. And again, you can scroll down. Choose your answers, and when you finish, you go to the next part again. Part 3. Now, part 3 and part 4 are a little bit more difficult. Part 3 is called reading for information. So this the subject is usually a little bit more scientific, a little bit more, but not academic. It's just the vocabulary is a little bit harder. Now this part is a very interesting part because it has A, B, C, D, and E. It is by paragraph. So what you're supposed to do is decide which paragraph has the information for each statement below. If the information is not given to you, you don't have the information, you choose E. So it's a little bit tricky, but if you use our free practice test, we have a free practice test online, you will understand what to do. For example, question 1. It's quite small, so I'm going to read it to you. There are physical differences between narwhals, males and females. So the question is, where is this information from? Is it from paragraph A, B, C, D, or not given to you? You just pick A, B, C, D, or E. So it's a different type of testing. Once you have a little bit of practice, you will understand what to do, and the rest are the same. One sentence, is this information from A, B, C, D, or E? Any questions? Now, if you don't see the information, you choose E, because it's not given to you. It's a little bit tricky. Okay? Now, part 4 is reading for viewpoints, which means here there are information from different perspectives, different viewpoints. After you read it, you answer questions about that article again. So reading on the left, answering on the right. The vocabulary can get a little bit harder here, so it's okay if you don't know all the vocabulary. The handout that I gave you, there are some strategies on how you can guess your answer, how you can use the context to maybe assume the main idea, and so on. So for the reading test, again, it's out of 38. And for immigration and citizenship purposes, that's about the score that you should be getting for your purpose. So far, so good? Okay, let's move on to the writing. Now, for the writing part, there are only 2 parts. Task 1 is writing an email. Task 2 is responding to survey questions. And it's about 1 hour as well. So this is what you have to do. First, you read the instructions or the context on the left. I'm going to read this for you because it's quite short. For example, you recently made reservations for dinner at a very famous and expensive restaurant in town. However, the meal and the service were terrible. The restaurant manager was not available to solve the problem, so you left without a resolution. So situation is normal Canadian life. Maybe you go to a restaurant tomorrow, it's a very nice restaurant, but the service was terrible, and you want to say something. What do? So for this particular test, you write an email or a response to the restaurant manager to complain. So this is an example of the kind of test writing you're supposed to show in this test. So here it tells you in blue on the right, it tells you what to do. So it says here, write an email to who? The restaurant manager. How many words? 150 to 200 words. And what to write about? They tell you what to write about. So here. There are 3 things you need to include in your email. If you have all the information there, well done. So you don't have to make new information. You don't have to think about what other things to write. Just answer these questions. For example, you have to talk about the problem. What is the problem you had with the food you ordered? Here you can make it up. You can say, oh, there was no salt in the food, I asked for no spice, it was very spicy. You can make it up. If there is no information in the situation, you can make your own story about why it was terrible. Second part, complain about the service. So you can say something like, oh, the waiter was very slow, I asked for a glass of water and there was no water for 35 minutes, and so on. So you don't have to use real facts. Or you can use your own experience. Maybe last week you went to a restaurant in Calgary and it was terrible. You can use that idea for your writing. That's okay. Because we're just testing language. We're not testing for real facts and information. And then number 3, describe how you want the restaurant to resolve the problem to your satisfaction. So what do you want the restaurant to do to make you happy? So maybe you want to say something like, I like to get a refund, or I like to see better service. You should train your staff to train them how to be more attentive, and so, or you need to hire a new chef because the food was terrible. Whatever, you can choose your own resolution and then write about that. And that's it, 150 words. Now for the writing task, we have spell check. So you can choose, you can click to see which spelling you're looking for, and then it will help you with spelling. And word count as well, so you don't have to count words. Okay? Questions? So this is writing an email. Task 2 is responding to survey questions. So I'm going to read this one out for you as well. So this is a city development survey. Do you know what a survey is? Yeah, they ask you some questions to get your feedback so they can do something. You live in a small town of 10,000 people. A large green area in the center of town is undeveloped, so there is some free green space. And the city has sent out an opinion survey, so like a feedback survey, to see what the residents, the people who live there, would like to have built in that area. So there is a free space. They want to know from the residents, how would you like to use this area? So that's the context. Again, normal Canadian life. Maybe in Canada, in Calgary, the city council may ask you some questions similar to this before they develop something. So what are the instructions? On the right, you will see, choose the option that you prefer. Why do you prefer your choice? And then you write. So here, what do you have to do? You have to choose option A or option B. Here. Choose option A, click, or option B. So you have a choice. For example, here option A is you want to see a shopping center, a shopping complex. The shopping mall will include restaurants, a supermarket, and a movie theater. Or if you don't like that option, you can choose option B. And option B is to develop a park, a recreational park. The park would include a sports complex, a green space, and a small petting zoo. So how do you choose? It's up to you. Which one do you have more information about? If you have more ideas about a shopping complex, choose A. If you have more ideas about a recreational park, choose B. So you think about your ideas, your vocabulary, and what are you interested in. If you are more interested in a recreational park, choose B. So there is no right or wrong. It is to test your language skills. So you can choose either one. And you write about 100 to 200 words in the box. So it's quite a short piece of writing. Now, very important, you have to explain your choice. So you can say, I think that a shopping complex is a great idea because there are no shopping malls in the area. It will be great for families to be able to buy things at the shop or go to the supermarket and so on. So you have to explain why you think A is a good choice. Any questions? Same thing, you can use spell check and word count. It is there for you. You can also cut and paste. So after you type and you think, oh no, I want to move this, you can cut and paste somewhere else, like normal word processing. Okay, so for the writing test, this is the scoring. How can you get a very good score? There are 4 things you need to do well. First, is the ideas, the quality of ideas, so the content. If you are only talking about one idea over and over again, that's not good. Number 2, vocabulary. So if you can use different words to express yourself, and the more naturally you can use those different words, the better it is. Number 3, readability. Now, the meaning of readability just means when the reader reads your writing, do they understand? Is it easy to read? If they can read it and say, okay, very good, then you will score high. If a reader reads it and they don't understand because there are some grammar errors, there's some spelling errors, there's no paragraphing, it's just all words, but no paragraph, then you get low for this section. So you want to be able to put them in paragraphs and make sure that you have good control of grammar, punctuation, and sentence structure. And number 4, whether you answered the question. So if your writing is very, very good, but you didn't answer this question, then you won't get a good score. You have to answer the parts that you chose. And for the previous one, you have to make sure you answer the 3 parts, the 3 bullets. That's how you get a high score for part 4, task fulfillment. Okay, so in summary, how well are your ideas organized and developed? What is the range of your vocabulary, and can you use it naturally? How easy is it to read and understand your writing? And did you follow the instructions well? If you can say yes, 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 you get a good score. Okay, any questions? Okay, we're almost done here and then we're going to practice. So the speaking test. Now there are 8 parts to the speaking test. Before you start the speaking test, you have a practice test. So don't worry, because there is a headset and something like this, like a microphone. You will say something like, talk about your best friend, or what is your name? And then you say it so that you know that your microphone is working and everything is working before you do the test. So that's what the practice is, very easy. If you have a problem, you just raise your hand, somebody will help you. Okay? Now, the tasks are all about regular, everyday Canadian life again. Like, for example, number 1, giving advice to your friends, talking about yourself, describing a place, and so on. So let's go through the parts together. Oh, and the speaking test is about 20 minutes. Now, the speaking test, there are 2 very important parts on the screen. There is preparation time and there is recording time. So look at this word. No speaking. Preparation time is for you to think and prepare your answer. So you will see the question and you will see the time count down. So, for example, the question is, talk about one of your best friends. You have 30 seconds. No need to stop, just think. Maybe write some notes. Okay, what is my best friend's name? Where did we meet? Why is this person my best friend? What kind of personality? What do we do together? Just short bullet notes, not like writing a paragraph, because this is a speaking test. After 30 seconds, it will start recording. Recording means you start talking and it will tell you recording, and you will see this. So that is when you speak. So first you prepare, you think, then you speak. So during the speaking, you speak normally. You don't have to shout, you don't have to whisper, you have to speak fast, don't have to speak very fast. Speaking very fast is not better. You just speak normally. Now, if you speak a little slower, that's okay, as long as it is natural. And don't worry about your accent. Accent is not a problem. Later, you will hear, even people with accents get very high score. You know why? Clear, easy to understand, good vocabulary, and everything makes sense. You get a high score. So your accent is not the issue. So don't worry about your accent, just speak normally. So in this case, you will go something like, My best friend's name is Ali. Ali and I met when we were in high school together, and then you just talk. Try to speak time, make sure the time, speak for as much as you can. If you have 1 minute to talk, you try to talk for 1 minute. If you talk for 10 seconds, oh, Ali is my best friend from high school, he's a very good guy, finish. It's not going to give you a good score. Do you know why? Because there's not enough content. Because they want to hear you use different vocabulary, different types of sentence structure, natural voice, talking, and so on. So you want to speak as much as you can. You also want to be able to finish. So you don't want to blah, blah, blah. Oh, and no more time. So how do you know? You look at this. Close to the end, you can just wrap up by saying, oh, this is the why Ali and I are really good friends, and I think that we will be good friends for a very long time. Finish. So try to time it. And you can always go to our website to do a free sample test. Use your cell phone, record yourself, listen, practice a little bit before you go for the test. So that's one way of practicing. Okay? Now, the speaking test, there are two types of questions. One type of question, you only see words, instructions, text only. For example, here. Task 2, talking about your personal experience. For example, talk about a great time you had with a family member or a friend, blah, 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 at a party. The other type of test question has a picture. So with the picture, in this case, task 3, you have to describe the picture. How do you know? Because the instructions tell you. I'll show you where the instructions are in blue. So you read them. So for task 3, you're supposed to describe the picture. What is happening in the picture? Now remember, when you're describing the picture, the person, the reader, cannot see the picture. All they hear is your voice. So you have to use good descriptive words. For example, in this picture, you could say, this is a classroom. Because if you don't say this is a classroom, the reader doesn't know that. So you give a general sentence first, then you describe the details. So you can say, this is a classroom, there are many children in the classroom, seated at the desk, and they are talking to one another. The teacher is standing outside the classroom talking to a man, for example, and so on. And you describe more. We'll give you a practice later. Okay, so this is a describing picture. Now, for the speaking test, again, there are 4 parts that you need to think about to get a good score. The first one, again, ideas. How many ideas do you have? If you have more ideas, enough ideas, that's good. You will score very high for content. Second one, vocabulary. So try to use different words, not the same words, to describe whatever you're talking about. Number 3, listenability. All this means is it easy to listen and understand what you're saying? So again, don't speak too fast because nobody can understand what you're saying. Speaking fast does not mean higher score. No. Clear speaking means higher score. So don't try to speak too fast. Just speak normally. If you are a little bit slower, that's okay. But you have to think about rhythm. So do not speak like this during the speaking test because it is not natural. Normal, just normal speaking. If you have an accent, don't worry about it. Just try to speak clearly and normally. That's the most important. And the last thing is, if the test is about describing a picture, don't talk about your grandmother because it's not related. Even if you have a lot of things, oh, my grandmother, she's such a nice lady, da 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 da, it will not answer the question. So number 4 is make sure you look at the instructions, read the instructions carefully. During the preparation time, you take some notes so that you are prepared. When they say start speaking, You can talk all the way to the end. If you have 1 minute, try to talk for 1 minute and try to don't get cut off. So you want to be able to finish your sentence. That's how you get a good score. Okay? Alright, so in summary, how can you do well for the speaking test? You think, how well are my ideas organized and developed in sequence, not all over the place? What is the range of my vocabulary? Can I use it naturally? Is it easy to listen and understand what I am saying? And did you follow the instructions? Okay, good, you're doing well. So for the scoring, 0 to 12. 12 is the highest score, and M is minimum. So again, I think 4 and 7 is what you're looking at. These are some practice materials we have. You can come and talk to me a little bit later if you want to find out more about them. And we have some preparation programs as well, online as well as in the classroom. Are you guys ready to practice? Okay. You can practice alone or you can practice with a program. So we're going to do speaking task 3. Can you see the picture? Is it clear? Okay. So here you are describing a scene. So you have to tell the reader, what do you see? Now remember I said first sentence, general. Where is this place? After that, you talk about what is happening in the place. So you can go in order. You can go from maybe clockwise, left, top right, and so on. Or you can go to specific people. Try to use descriptive words. Describe how does the person look, whether the person is young or old, what is the person doing, and so on. Okay? So I'm going to give you, so here it says, describe some things that are happening in the picture below as well as you can. So describe it to your best ability. The person with whom you are speaking cannot see the picture. So you are talking to a person that is like on the cell phone. Think about you talking to your friend on the cell phone and you are telling your friend about what is happening. So I'm going to give you 1 minute. Maybe you can practice with a friend or you can think to yourself, how would you describe this? And then I will show you some sample responses. Ready? Okay, 1 minute. Where is this place? A coffee shop or a cafe, right? What is happening? There are some people buying coffee, there is some activity going on, so that you can start describing that activity. You can say there are 2 people working at the coffee shop and they are serving the customers. One of the customers, the one on the left, she's a lady with how many children? 2 children, yes. And you can also, she looks pregnant. So you can say she's a pregnant lady with 2 children. It looks like she's buying maybe a bowl of soup and some food for her and children. And then you can go on to describe the next person. There is a man. What is he wearing? A suit. So you can say, at the counter, there's a man in a suit. Looks like he's buying a cup of coffee. There you go. So it's quite easy. You just have to sort of go in order. And after that, you can go and describe other things as well. So now we're going to listen to an actual response of somebody who did this test. And then you tell me what level this person is. How do you know? You think about the standards. What is the content? What is the vocabulary? Is it easy to understand? And did they answer the question? Okay.
I would like to describe you the scene at the Els Cafe. It's on the busy street where people are walking, having a good walk, and inside the store there are some friends who are chatting over the place, the coffee. There's a waitress who's cleaning the table, and there's a gentleman who is being offered coffee by the staff. I can also see older woman who is making her way to the cafe, and a young guy who is helping her out with the vase, and he's helping her to look at the menu, like what are the deals and what are the special on the menu there. There's a lady server there who is serving a lady with a child. Maybe she's having soup.
Maybe turn around and talk to one person. What is good about this sample? What is maybe something that they can improve? And what level do you think this person got? What score? I'll give you 30 seconds. Maybe just talk to somebody. What is good? What is maybe something to improve? And what level do you think the score is? Okay, what is this test taker's strength? What do you think? You think it's level 10? Okay, why? So good vocabulary, yes. Yeah, easy to understand, okay. Anything else? Okay, let's see. So yes, good vocabulary, good organization, because in order, not all over the place, right? And what is this test taker's weakness? Something that maybe for you is like, I didn't really understand that. Okay. Pardon me? Maybe the intonation and it's not always clear. Maybe the person should give more information or more details. Do you guys think it's a level 10? Who thinks it's a level 10? 9? 8? 7? 6? 7. 7 is quite good. So you notice the person has a bit of an accent? It's not a problem. Accent is not a problem. It's all about the content and how easy it is to understand. Yeah? Okay. So we have 5 minutes. You want to do one more? Okay. This is another question. This is task 7. Expressing opinions. So the question is, do you think, so asking your opinion, do you think young people should travel often and learn from other cultures before taking their first job? Explain your reason. So I'm going to give you 1 minute. You can either talk to somebody or you can think to yourself, how are you going to answer this question? Okay? 1 minute. Okay, remember, there are no right or wrong answers. This is not a test for information. This is a language test. So if you say no and you have many good reasons, that's fine. If you say yes and you have many good reasons, that's also fine. So how do you choose? You choose depending on how many ideas you have and what kind of vocabulary you have and which one you are more interested in. If you choose something that is you're more passionate about, you tend to have more things to talk about. So don't worry about right or wrong. No, it's just about speaking naturally and being able to use English. Imagine you talking to your friend about this and what is your opinion? That's all. It's not very scary, okay? All right. So, listen to this response and tell me what you think.
I definitely think that young people should travel, not necessarily after graduation, but it could be during their studies. I had the opportunity to do an exchange when I was going to college, and it was a great experience. I also had the opportunity to travel before while I was in middle school with folk dancing group, and it just gives you a new perspective of life. It's really good to see other places, to meet lots of people from different backgrounds, to learn about culture, and it also helps you to be more independent and to be less scared of doing things. So if after you graduate, of course, if you want to do it, it's a really good way of celebrating. You can go with your friends to a certain place. I would recommend to visit places, not so much to go to resorts, but to go to places where you're going to be in contact with the people who live there, so that you can actually learn and just visit places that are where you can learn about culture more than just going to a resort. I don't really see the benefit, even though it's nice to go, but there's not much benefit of just staying at a hotel at the pool.
Very good timing, right? Do you think this one is better or worse than the previous one?
Better.
Better? Why do you think it's better? Clear? Yes? Vocabulary? Good different sentence structure, like, short sentence, long sentence, that sort of stuff. Okay, so good ideas, good vocabulary. What are some things the person can improve on? Maybe there were a few small grammar issues, but it's not a big problem. So there are minor grammar issues, maybe a few pronunciation mistakes, but that's not a problem. What level do you think this person is? Okay, who thinks it's 7? 8? Level 8? Level 9? 10? 11? Or 12? 12 is the highest. Level 10. 10 is very, very good. And you can hear there's a slight accent. Is it a problem? No, it's not a problem at all. It's all about content, vocabulary, how natural he is speaking. And also, you see at the end, she finished the sentence, right? She didn't go, brr, brr, and she ran out of time. So she timed it and she prepared it very well as well. Okay. So if you guys have more questions, we have a booth right outside here. We also have a website with free study materials. There's a sample test, so you can look at the sample test and practice all the questions, and it's free. And also, if you want more information, you can check out Facebook, Twitter, and so on. You can buy study materials online.